until it found her.
She was a shoulder for him to cry on. They had a spark.
My sister was like, hey, I have a new boyfriend and I want y'all to meet him.
She felt like he might have been the one.
But when she goes missing, could he be to blame?
He was away during the time of the murder.
I knew it was something really, really wrong.
A trail of clues leads police to a disturbing crime scene.
There's blood everywhere.
It was horrific. I couldn't breathe.
Life went upside down.
And the unbelievable con that ended up in murder.
It was like, wow, are you serious?
He was supposed to be in prison.
She fought to keep her life from ending.
It gives me chills all these years later.
February 4th, 1995. It's a typical Saturday in Tulsa, a city of 375,000 in the heart of Oklahoma oil country.
Tulsa is, I think, probably one of the jewels of Oklahoma. It's a great city. You have all the arts and entertainment, restaurants, good bars to go to.
Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad when you say that you're from Tulsa because there's a lot of crime that happens here.
I would say it's a safe community, but I would say per capita we have a high homicide rate. I've grappled with it my whole career.
So when local resident Maxine Thomas makes a call to Tulsa police in the middle of the night, they're prepared to spring into action.
Tulsa Police, how can I help you?
Yes, I need to file a missing persons report.
Maxine says her friend Sharonda Clark has disappeared. No one has seen or heard from Sharonda in over 12 hours.
Maxine says the 20-year-old mother of two had failed to pick her children up from daycare earlier that evening.
Sharonda had a 4-year-old daughter and a 1.5-year-old daughter, and they were at the daycare, and she didn't go to pick them up as normal.
She always picks her kids up after work. There's no way she would have left them there without telling anyone.
That day, it just kept getting later and later, and slowly the daycare emptied. It was just myself, my sister, and the workers for the daycare. They were calling, but no one was coming or picking up.
Since Maxine was listed as an emergency contact, she was able to step in for Sharonda's two girls.
Fortunately, she was able to come and get them.
I picked up the girls. We went to Sharonda's to look for her.
We go and knock on the door to see if we could get my mom to answer, but no one answered. That was a really, really big flag for myself at the age of 4.
She's a good mom. She wouldn't just abandon her kids like this.
That wasn't like Sharonda to not communicate.
She never, ever, ever done that.
Sharonda was the type of mother who would stop whatever she was doing to make sure that her kids are okay.
Something must have happened to her. That's the only thing I can think of.
Okay, we're going to send 2 units out to that location.
My mom was very, very active with myself and my sister. She was that parent, so I knew it was something really, really wrong.
They were worried about what could be happening to Sharonda.
For 20-year-old Sharonda Clark, motherhood began at a young age.
She was 14 when she first became a mom.
Of course, my grandparents didn't want her to become a teen parent, but she did. I'm her oldest, and she was her mom's oldest as well. So in a lot of ways, we were a lot alike. Her being brand new to parenting, me being brand new.
She loved her daughter, Ye-Shin. She did. She really did. She stopped school to take care of her baby, and so she did odd jobs until she was old enough to work at a real job. The father was real young, too. He was about 15. So it was hard.
However, Sharonda's friends and family rallied around her to help.
We always kicked in and made sure that she had diapers. We worked together to do the best that she could for her daughter. It takes a village. That's all I can say.
Do you need me to still watch her tomorrow?
Oh, yes, that would be amazing. You know, she loves her auntie Jamaica.
I love her too.
I know.
In the spring of 1992, Sharonda became pregnant again, this time with her daughter, Majourne.
I was 12 when Majourne was born, and it was just like having another little sister, little sibling.
She loved that little baby, oh my goodness. She was always smiling, always smiling.
Majourne's father was a man from the neighborhood, Travis Wells.
How's she doing?
Good. I think she's about to fall asleep.
My mom and my daddy were crazy. Crazy about each other.
So much so that they decided to tie the knot right after Majourne was born.
She was a young married mom, so she experienced not only being a teenage mom, but she also experienced being a teen wife.
She was still really young, but she made good decisions and strong decisions, and there was nobody that was going to tell her different.
She loves the family she's built.
But unfortunately, just 1 year into the marriage, it began to crumble.
They just began to grow apart, which could happen in any marriage, especially when you start a marriage so young.
That relationship didn't work out.
They ended up separating when Sharonda was 19 years old.
But Sharonda didn't let such a jarring life change get her down.
Sharonda continued to do whatever it took to provide for her 2 children. She worked multiple jobs. She became a manager of a retail chain.
She, with 2 young children, found her own place. She paid her own bills.
Sharonda was a fighter.
She fought for us no matter what. Do anything for us that she could to try to protect us.
As a single mom, Sharonda's busy life didn't leave much time for romance. But later that same year, she'd find a connection in a place she least expected it.
Hey, you okay?
Initially, Sharonda had met Jermaine at his brother's funeral, and being the caring kind of person that she was a shoulder for him to cry on.
I just can't believe he's gone. It's like it hasn't sunk in yet.
23-year-old Jermaine Cannon welcomed Sharonda's compassionate spirit with open arms.
That's how they started communicating. Just to have somebody to talk to laugh with, because she was so funny. And you know, just to give him a head change.
I bet he's looking large up there, though.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Sharonda was a light to everyone who met her, including Jermaine.
Before long, their friendship turned into a romance, a relationship that Sharonda was hopeful would finally be the one.
My sister called up to my parents and was like, hey, I have a new boyfriend and I want y'all to meet him.
She was taking things slowly, but her heart was open.
However, it's been more than 12 hours since anyone has seen or heard from Sharonda, and fears are mounting that something terrible may have happened to her.
Sharonda Clark is missing.
She hadn't picked up her kids from daycare.
That wasn't like Sharonda to not communicate.
All right, thank you.
A missing persons report is filed.
Tulsa police begin their investigation by heading to Sharonda's apartment.
The police basically broke in the door.
Police!
When police got inside, they found overturned furniture, spilled food, and bloody walls, indicating a struggle had took place.
There's blood in the kitchen, there's blood in the living room, there's shoe marks of blood all over.
But nothing could prepare police for what they find when they look into the hallway.
They witness a horrendous scene.
There was so much blood.
She didn't deserve this.
After separating from her husband, Travis Wells, 20-year-old mother of 2, Sharonda Clark, had come out on the other side even stronger.
Sharonda was headed in the right direction.
She was willing to do whatever it takes to provide for her 2 children.
She made sure that we were always together.
Working, tending to us, maintaining friendships, nothing seemed to stop her.
And when she met 23-year-old Jermaine Cannon at the most unlikely of places, it seemed as if she might get another chance at love.
She wound up finding someone who respected and appreciated and loved her.
But in February of 1995, as Valentine's Day approaches, police have discovered a bloody scene inside Sharonda's apartment.
As police were investigating the scene, they noticed a trail of blood leading into the hallway. And when they followed it, they witnessed an even more grisly scene.
They saw the victim laying on the floor, on her back.
Sharonda Clark was dead.
The responding officers immediately called for backup.
I was on call that specific day and night, and you always know when your pager goes off, we still carried pagers then, that you were ready to go. I mean, it was just expected that you were going to have to get out and see something that you really didn't want to see.
When Detective Fultz arrives on the scene, it's clear he's looking at a homicide.
We started looking at the victim and noticed quite a few stab marks on her body.
Someone stabbed her 3 times in the neck region, which severed her carotid artery, her jugular, and then the final blow was a stab wound to the chest.
Apart from those fatal blows, Sharonda also suffered numerous smaller cuts to her hands and arms.
She had what's called defensive wounds. You can imagine a knife coming down on you and she's got her hand up in the air trying to protect herself.
I certainly believe that she did everything she could to keep her life from ending. She fought, she struggled.
Near Sharonda's body, investigators find what they believe is the murder weapon.
The knife was found fairly close to the body. The handle was broken. It was very bloody.
They bag it up for further examination.
Police find more signs of violence inside Sharonda's bedroom.
They found a trail of blood leading to the bedroom.
In the bedroom, everything was in disarray.
There's blood everywhere and spatter on the walls.
It was apparent from looking at the blood stains and the blood trails that the majority of violence and the stabbing occurred in the bedroom. Our suspect had stabbed the victim numerous times and then dragged her from the bedroom into the hallway.
There's something else in the bedroom that catches investigators' attention.
There was a broken window in the bedroom.
At first glance, it appears to be a robbery. But when police further investigate, they find the window had been broken from the inside.
It looks like the window was broken when Sharonda was struggling against her killer.
Other evidence also runs counter to the robbery theory.
There's no signs of forced entry. Nothing appears to be missing.
It looked like Sharonda had let this person into the house.
Someone that uses a knife when it's up close like this, it's extremely personal. It shows me as an investigator that this person had absolutely no regard but rage toward our victim.
When the tragic news reaches Sharonda's loved ones, they're devastated.
I've seen my dad cry, but not like that. My first thought was, why did this happen? How could this happen to our family?
I couldn't breathe. It was devastating for something like that extreme to happen to somebody that you love so much.
You hear mom's gone, mom's not coming back. Almost immediately, life went upside down.
As the sun comes up over Tulsa, investigators start canvassing the apartment complex for potential witnesses.
Investigators reached out to neighbors to see if they had seen anything.
One woman tells police she was friendly with Sharonda, and the young mother was well liked among the other residents at the apartment complex.
She got along with everybody. People loved to hang out with her.
But Sharonda's neighbor also says she noticed something unusual on Friday afternoon, the day Sharonda disappeared.
I was coming home from the store earlier, and I saw her outside talking to somebody.
According to the neighbor, the two appeared to be in a heated exchange, some type of argument.
They were really going at it, and I can tell she was pretty upset.
To police, it looks like this person could be Sharonda's killer.
Get away from me!
Thanks to one of Sharonda Clark's neighbors, Tulsa detectives have learned that the mother of two was spotted arguing with an unidentified man on the afternoon before her death.
Did you hear what they were arguing about?
No, they were too far away, but it looked pretty heated.
She didn't know the cause of the argument.
But she was worried about Sharonda, and so later on that night, she gave her a call.
She called about 5:30 p.m.
The phone rang, and then somebody finally answered, but it wasn't Sharonda.
Hello? It's a man. The neighbor believes it was the same man who was arguing with Sharonda that day.
Hi, may I please speak to Sharonda?
Yeah, Sharonda's not here right now.
He was telling her that Sharonda was not there, but she could hear Sharonda in the background, and then he ended up hanging up on her. And that was probably the last time anybody heard Sharonda alive.
Detectives are hoping her neighbor can help them identify Sharonda's mysterious male companion.
Investigators asked the neighbor if she could recognize him, if she knew what he looked like, what he was wearing.
But they're out of luck.
I saw them from pretty far away, so I really couldn't get a very good look at him.
All that she could recall was that he was a black man in his 20s.
Thank you for your time, man.
Tracking down this new suspect is now investigators' #1 priority.
Sharonda recently separated from her ex-husband, Travis Wells.
Could he be the person she was arguing with that day?
In cases like this, police usually start their investigation with those closest to the victim or anyone they've recently had a disagreement with.
However, it's soon clear Sharonda and her ex didn't have any bad blood.
They were still on amicable terms, that they had exchanged and arranged visitation for their child.
They both got along with one another and were co-parenting and being able to communicate with each other.
After their separation, Travis hadn't even stayed in Tulsa.
Majorene's dad, he moved to Ohio and didn't come back.
He was away during the time of the murder.
Without Travis Wells as a suspect, detectives are back at square one.
Next, investigators subpoena Sharonda's phone records and her bank records, hoping to find something that will give them a clue to what happened.
As detectives pore over the records, they're looking for anything that might raise a red flag.
They looked through all of her recent communications and transactions, but nothing stood out.
They come up empty.
Forensic testing on the murder weapon also leads to a dead end.
They were hoping to recover some fingerprints from the knife, but there was nothing there.
Less than 24 hours into their murder investigation, detectives are already running out of leads. But when they start reaching out to Sharonda's circle of friends, they finally make some headway.
One of Sharonda's friends tells them that she knows of a man Sharonda had been seeing.
Yeah. She met this guy at the funeral for his brother. His name is Jermaine Cannon.
The two of them really hit it off, and Sharonda seemed happy.
However, Sharonda's romance with Jermaine soon hit a roadblock.
One day, Jermaine was just gone.
She told me he took off. She didn't know where he went or what happened to him.
She kind of felt like he might have been the one. Then he disappeared.
She was devastated. She had opened her heart up to someone. Had she missed something?
However, in January of 1995, Jermaine reappeared.
Out of nowhere, Jermaine landed back on her doorstep. Sharonda was shocked.
Did you miss me?
Jermaine, what are you doing here?
Sharonda was happy to see him.
But she was also hesitant to let Jermaine back into her life.
She couldn't rid her mind of those questions. What happened? Why did he leave?
It's been months, Jermaine. Where have you been?
He said, I had to go out of town to take care of some family stuff. He kind of dodged the question, and then he asked Sharonda if he could stay with her.
Why didn't you just let me know where you were going? You just up and left.
I'm sorry, baby. It all happened so fast, but I'm here now. We can be together again.
I don't think she was really comfortable with it, but she said he could stay. He didn't have any place else to go.
She still wanted to carry on this relationship. She just loved him unconditionally.
But after Jermaine moved in, Sharonda quickly came to regret her decision.
She didn't feel like he was being totally honest with her.
Sharonda was probably pulling away from the relationship, and that's when the aggression started.
Jermaine turned violent.
They were fighting. People were starting to notice bruises on Sharonda.
And as the tensions grew, Sharonda confronted Jermaine over his lies.
What do you want?
I want to know where you've been all these months. And I want the truth this time.
Fine, okay? You really want to know?
She found out that he was escaped from jail.
He was a wanted man.
Police in Tulsa, Oklahoma have been trying to identify the man Sharonda Clark was seen arguing with on the day before her body was found.
A neighbor reported seeing Sharonda having an intense argument outside of her apartment with a young black male.
Now, thanks to one of Sharonda's close friends, police think they know who that man was. 23-year-old Jermaine Cannon.
According to the friend, Jermaine and Sharonda had a tumultuous relationship.
A relationship that became even more turbulent after Sharonda learned the truth about her new beau.
I want to know where you've been all these months. And I want the truth this time.
Fine. You really want to know?
Jermaine had been in prison.
What do you mean prison?
I mean, I got locked up, but then I got away.
On the day that he showed up at her door, he'd escaped. The news just shocked Sharonda.
When she told me that, I knew he was bad news. I told her she needed to get away from him.
Sharonda wholeheartedly agreed.
If she knew what had occurred as far as him being an escapee, I really don't have any doubt that she wouldn't have let him in her apartment.
She knew she couldn't have that around her children.
Now, do you have any recollection of Jermaine?
Here and there, like glimpses of him coming in, not really knowing who he was, you know, being a kid asking, who is this, who's staying over, that kind of thing. So it wasn't like, oh, he had been here for a long time.
In the days before she was killed, friends believe Sharonda had been making plans to remove Jermaine from her apartment and her life for good.
She was preparing to kick him out.
One day, Sharonda called her friend, asking if she could watch her children because she was worried about them being in the house.
Sharonda had called my mother and told her that I needed to get a hold of her ASAP. So I called her phone, but I didn't get any answer from her. I was a little concerned, but I wasn't really too stressed about it because I wasn't sure exactly what she wanted.
Sharonda made these calls. On the same day, the neighbors saw her arguing with the man outside.
For detectives, the picture of what happened to Sharonda is becoming clearer.
Okay, thank you so much for coming down.
So now detectives are starting to put this puzzle together. They think what the neighbors saw was Sharonda kicking Jermaine out of her apartment.
When detectives run a background check on Jermaine, they're able to confirm much of what Sharonda's friends have told them.
We determined that Mr. Cannon has had a history of being violent toward women.
Police came across an incident report involving a woman who claimed that Jermaine had burglarized and assaulted her.
He snuck in through a basement window, and she woke up with his hand over her mouth.
A more recent arrest suggests that Jermaine's pattern of violence has been escalating.
The second woman, a former girlfriend, he ended up getting into an argument with her and tried to kill her by using an iron, a toaster, and a hammer, and left her for dead.
She was very fortunate not to have been killed.
He got prosecuted for an assault and battery with intent to kill and got 15 years.
But Jermaine wasn't behind bars for long.
They quickly learned that he had indeed escaped prison.
It was a medium security type facility where they had some freedom. They weren't locked down all the time.
And for whatever reason, he got it in his head that I've had enough of this being incarcerated.
He stole a bus and made his way to Tulsa.
Now, detectives are more determined than ever to track down Jermaine. But that proves easier said than done.
No one has seen him since the day before Sharonda's disappearance.
However, their luck changes when police receive intel from an unexpected source.
The lead detective gets a call. A woman claims to have information about Sharonda's case.
Yes. Is this the detective who's looking for Jermaine Cannon?
Yes, ma'am.
The caller is Jermaine's mother.
She knew her son was in trouble.
She put the pieces together.
Police in Tulsa, Oklahoma have discovered that just a few weeks before she was killed, Sharonda Clark had been tricked into welcoming an escaped convict into her home.
I was in prison.
Jermaine Cannon stole a truck, ended up in Tulsa, and she was just trying to help him out.
Now investigators are searching for the suspected killer, and they've just received a promising lead on his whereabouts.
Yes, ma'am.
They received a phone call from Jermaine's mother. She tipped them off that he had gone to Flint, Michigan.
So you're saying he's in Flint right now?
Yes, sir.
And how do you know this?
He told me himself.
She tells investigators that Jermaine called her, and it surprised her because she knew he was supposed to be in prison.
Somehow or other, he had gotten out of prison. And he said that he was about to take a bus to Flint.
Why Flint?
That's where his uncle is.
Jermaine also told his mother the police were after him for something he didn't do.
That something was the murder of Sharonda Clark.
Jermaine told his mother that he did get in a fight with Sharonda, but it wasn't what it looked like. He insisted on that.
The family didn't want to believe that Jermaine would do this, but they also understood that it was very likely that he had. Given his actions, the fact that he had been staying there, the fact that he had escaped from prison.
I told him to turn himself in, but he wouldn't listen to me.
Okay, thank you.
After speaking with Jermaine's mother, Tulsa detectives immediately reach out to law enforcement in Michigan.
They contacted the Flint Police Department and were arranging to have Jermaine arrested at his uncle's house.
But before they can make their move, investigators receive another surprising phone call.
Jermaine actually called Detective Fultz.
He called me. Pretty unusual for a suspect to voluntarily call, but his family had convinced him that it would be in his best interest.
Jermaine tells investigators he knows what the crime scene looks like. He knows how bad it is, but he wants them to give him a chance to tell his side of the story.
Within hours, Jermaine turns himself over to law enforcement.
Investigators explain to Jermaine that they already know he escaped from prison. They asked him to start from there.
Jermaine says once he made his escape, he headed straight for Sharonda's apartment.
He went to Sharonda because they had a spark before he'd gone to prison.
Look, I needed some place to go where I thought the cops wouldn't find me. And I thought that maybe she would let me stay with her.
Jermaine tells investigators that they quickly hit it off. Things were going good for a while, but eventually they began arguing.
Then she started getting on my case about every little thing, you know, and
He's painting Sharonda as the aggressor in this relationship. He claimed that she was violent and she was intimidating.
Then, on February 3rd, he says the tensions reached a breaking point.
Jermaine tells investigators that he decided to leave, but he was worried about what Sharonda might do to him, and so he wasn't gonna tell her.
Look, I was gonna just slip out, okay? Because, you know, I just didn't need her going off on me again.
But Jermaine says before he could make his exit, Sharonda realized what he was up to.
As he was packing up his things, Sharonda came and questioned him. What are you doing?
I can't do this anymore, Sharonda.
What do you mean?
I can't do this no more.
What can't you do?
This!
So you're leaving?
Yes.
He said I was leaving her and she didn't want me to leave.
And she was really mad and she started physically attacking me.
He says after a while, he had no choice but to fight back.
During the struggle, Jermaine says they shattered Sharonda's bedroom windows.
Jermaine says Sharonda went ballistic, lunging at him with a knife, cutting him. The struggle ensued to get control of it.
In the struggle, the knife hit the floor. They both looked at the knife, and he dove for it.
After tracking their suspect almost 1,000 miles from Tulsa, Oklahoma to Flint, Michigan, homicide detectives have arrested Jermaine Cannon for the murder of his girlfriend, Sharonda Clark.
He showed us that he was a very dangerous man. Here's a guy that can't stay out of custody 22 days before he tries to kill somebody else.
But according to Jermaine, Sharonda was the dangerous one in their relationship.
Jermaine's side of the story was that Sharonda was the aggressor and that he was afraid of Sharonda.
Jermaine tells police that on February 3rd, he and Sharonda got into an argument when he revealed that he was leaving her.
Jermaine says she spiraled out of control.
He said we got in an argument and she pulled a knife on him.
Chill.
He was able to gain control of the knife to protect himself.
He admitted that he killed her, but he said he did it in self-defense.
Jermaine says once he realized what he'd done, he tried to help Sharonda.
Look, I didn't want her to die.
He tries to drag her body to the bathroom to find something to stop the bleeding.
He said I was gonna get her first aid.
But Jermaine could tell that Sharonda was already dead.
I couldn't call the cops because, you know, I was a wanted man.
So what did you do?
I got out of there.
He then bought a bus ticket to Flint, Michigan, and went up and knocked on his uncle's door.
Mr. Cannon did not admit that he was at fault. He blamed the victim for the whole thing, said it was all her fault.
Investigators don't buy a word of it.
It's nothing but a story, because there's nothing in evidence that supports his story.
For one thing, Jermaine doesn't have any of the defensive wounds detectives would expect to see if Sharonda had really attacked him with a knife.
He shows detectives his hand.
Didn't have a scratch on it.
What Jermaine was saying couldn't possibly be true. There was no way that she was the aggressor in this situation.
It was the bloodiest scene I'd ever prosecuted. The amount of blood indicating that she was running, trying to get away from him until she couldn't get away anymore. So there just wasn't anything to support his story.
Investigators charged him with first-degree murder.
When Jermaine's trial begins on March 12, 1996, prosecutors outline what they believe really happened that night.
They say that the argument Sharonda's neighbor witnessed was her confronting him over his lies and abuse.
Sharonda wanted him to leave.
But for Jermaine, that wasn't an option.
If she put him out, he would have nowhere to go.
He knew that things would be only worse for him if he had to go back to prison after escaping.
Instead of packing his bags, Jermaine stood his ground.
You think I'm gonna let you kick me out after everything I went through?
He enjoyed his freedom, and he wasn't gonna let anyone, not even Sharonda, stop him.
Jermaine was enraged and tried to beat Sharonda into submission.
But when that wasn't enough, Jermaine went into the kitchen and grabbed a knife.
Get away. Get away from me. Get away from me.
He then started to chase her through the house.
She's running all over this house trying to save her life. I mean, the sheer terror that she went through.
He stabbed Sharonda in cold blood.
He ended up stabbing her 4 times. It gives me chills all these years later. I'm sure it did the same thing to the jury.
Jermaine's own demeanor in the courtroom does little to help his case.
During the trial, he was sitting there with a smile on his face. And it was like, wow, are you serious?
When I saw him, I was kind of shocked. He had this cocky attitude about him, like, yeah, I'm gonna win. There was no remorse. He didn't care.
It takes the jury just 2 short hours to reach a decision.
The jury found Jermaine Cannon guilty of first-degree murder.
It was tears, like, yes, finally, we were happy and relieved.
The jury sentenced him to death by lethal injection, and ultimately, that sentence was carried out July 20th, 2023.
More than 28 years after her murder, Sharonda's loved ones are present for Jermaine's execution.
So we get in the room first, and you could see him mouthing and talking to his family like, I love you, and thumbs up, and grinning, and I'm just like, I'm instantly irritated because my mom didn't get to do any of this. She didn't get to pick her last meal. She damn sure didn't get to say goodbye to anybody. So it was like a slap in the face. It kind of felt like we were doing a make-a-wish for a death row individual.
Jermaine Cannon had an opportunity to say some last words before they started the execution.
His final words are, I confess with my mouth and believe with my heart that God raised Jesus from the dead. Therefore, I am saved.
I know it hurt my niece, my oldest niece, Yashin, more because he got to live basically a whole nother 30 years, a whole life.
Afterwards, I felt confused. I mean, I was happy that I was there. I was happy that I seen it through. I was happy that I got to support my mom when she couldn't. It was just disappointing in the mannerism of how the system was set up to carry it out.
It's a very sobering experience. You never really want to witness somebody's death. However, in my opinion, the earth is a better place without Jermaine Cannon on it.
Nearly 3 decades later, Sharonda's daughters are still struggling to cope with their mother's death.
I'm still dealing with it. I'm angry, lost, kind of. The only thing that really helps me navigate through it is my family.
This program documents actual homicide investigations. Criminal charges are often dropped or reduced, and all suspects shown are presumed innocent unless proven guilty.
They go to knock on doors and see if there are witnesses.
But as the neighbor and officers approach David's house, they notice something else.
The smoke appeared to be coming from the unit where Takira Collins lived with her 2 children.
They look through those windows. There's a lot of smoke.
It looked like there had been a fire inside.
It burned itself out.
However, the fire is still a tragedy.
Hey, I see kids in there.
Life had never been easy for 25-year-old Takira Collins.
Our father, he passed when she was 1 going on 2.
You could tell it was hard on her. It affected her a lot.
In the aftermath, Takira's mother struggled to make ends meet.
Growing up in poverty, it just made things very difficult. Childhood for us was stressful.
As a result, the siblings stuck together.
She wanted us to be inseparable. She always wanted to be there for me. I always wanted to be there for her. And the older we got, the stronger we got.
But as important as their bond was, Takira longed for more.
She did want family just because she didn't have her father growing up.
By 18, she'd found what she was looking for with Armand Johnson, a young man that lived in her neighborhood.
Being from the same neighborhood and being around things and seeing things and being through things together, that made their bond, strong and tight.
The couple fell in love, and in 2012, Takira gave birth to a baby boy.
He is beautiful.
He looks like you.
You think so?
Well, he is Armand Johnson Jr.
I know she was happy.
Once her son was born, Takira devoted herself to raising the child.
Her whole mindset changed. She just wanted to do better and be better. She was just focused. She was being a mom.
But while Takira was home with their child, Armand was out in the streets.
He ended up going to jail.
He was sent away for 5 years on robbery charges.
While Armand was in prison, Takira remained focused on raising their child.
Takira Collins was a dedicated mom, and she was a hard worker. She worked multiple jobs.
She also met someone new, a man named Anthony Stevens.
Hey, I saw you sitting here and I just had to come over and meet you.
I'm glad you did.
When Takira met Anthony, she was happy, head over heels.
That first meeting quickly blossomed into a romance.
They going out, dates, and they kicking it and spending time together.
Pretty soon, they welcomed their own bundle of joy into the world, Aubrey.
She was so happy that she had a girl. Like, finally, I got a mini-me.
But Takira's relationship with Anthony didn't last either.
I turned sour, but they was together for, I'd say, about a year.
She said he became overprotective and was giving her crazy vibes, so she ended things with him.
She was a strong, independent woman.
But she still longed for her kids to have a father figure in their lives.
She ended things with Anthony, and I believe that's when the feelings for Armand started to come back.
She wanted her son's father in his life.
Her son, he older now. He asking about where my dad at. Can I talk to my dad?
Takira reached out, and Armand reconnected with his son and Takira.
He was able to give her the attention she needed, explain to her how things was going to be when he came home.
He told me we worked it out.
They got engaged, and they wanted to move forward as a family.
And when Armand finally came home, they did become a family.
Aubrey obviously was a product of a different relationship, but this little girl became his own.
Armand also doted over his little boy.
Good job, man. Yeah.
I could see that he loved his dad.
And Takira was glad to have a family again.
I said, you happy? I'm happy. That's all that matters.
Things was looking good.
But now, officers responding to a shooting have spotted smoke coming from Takira's apartment.
They went to investigate and made a horrifying discovery.
Hey, I see kids in there.
They saw the 2 children in the house.
They were lying motionless on the floor. Ready?
The first responders make a forced entry, but they're too late.
Both of the children were dead from smoke inhalation.
You had a tremendous amount of smoke, which is what caused the kids to die.
But the children aren't the only victims. Moving deeper into the apartment, the officers make another grim discovery.
Police discovered Takira's body.
Unlike her children, Takira didn't die in the fire.
Takira had been shot 10 times.
Her and Armand was back together, and things was looking good.
But now, police have found Takira and her 2 children dead inside her apartment.
Takira had been shot 10 times.
A lot of those injuries were from the back. I believe she was running to her bedroom, trying to get away.
Then the killer had apparently tried to set fire to the apartment, hoping to hide the evidence.
Since the children didn't have any visible injuries, police believe they died from smoke inhalation.
One of the huge factors in this case is the fact that this house was newly renovated and had brand new windows. There were no gaps in these windows. That was crucial because when this house was set aflame, the fire didn't get any oxygen in order for this whole structure to come down. So that's why we are not looking at a pile of rubble.
When homicide detectives arrive, they find clear evidence that the fire had been deliberately set.
There was a gas can left in her bedroom.
Detectives also recover multiple 9mm shell casings, as well as Takira's phone.
Takira's phone is laying on the sofa in the living room.
There were no indications of a robbery or any signs of forced entry.
Adding that to the number of wounds Takira suffered leads detectives to one conclusion.
This was a crime of passion.
Shooting Takira that many times was definitely personal.
10 shots is overkill.
The detectives suspect the children slept through the shooting.
But Takira's daughter woke sometime after the fire had been set.
Aubrey got up from her bed. We know that because she had soot in the bottom of her feet. And when you look at the walls in the house, you see her handprints walking down to her brother's room.
Police found the 2 children clinging to one another inside her brother's bedroom.
It's heartbreaking.
But did their deaths have anything to do with the murder of their neighbor, David Cousin Jr.?
After looking over the apartment where Takira and her children died, detectives went to the vacant lot nearby where the neighbor found David.
They would have been looking for shell casings and looking to see if these things were connected.
In the grass, detectives recover one more 9mm shell casing.
It was a match to the ones found in Takira's bedroom, which made detectives believe they were looking for the same shooter in both murders.
While the detectives work, onlookers start to gather outside the crime scene tape.
This had a lot of attention. There were family members showing up. Everyone from the neighborhood is out. It's a chaotic scene at this point.
The neighborhood was on edge to see 2 babies and a mother killed.
Neighbors are just as dismayed by David's murder.
People that lived in Slavic Village in that neighborhood were shocked because who would do something to David?
In his community, he was a very well-respected individual.
But other than being neighbors, there was no real connection between David and Takira.
It was just a high-by situation. This my neighbor. It was nothing like no relationship or none of that. He had a girlfriend. He was about to get married.
Hoping to learn more about Takira, detectives turn to her family who have started to gather after hearing the horrific news.
Can I see my baby?
Hey, we're so sorry for your loss. When I get home, missed calls. It was coming from our uncle. So I called him. I asked him what's going on. And he told me, like, your sister's, she's gone. The first thing that came to my mind was, okay, well, what about the kids? Where are the kids?
Her family had just the profound sense of loss when, you didn't just lose one family member. You lost 3 and you lost babies.
But But the family also says they know who did it.
Family members thought that only one person was responsible.
It had to be Anthony.
And her mother says she has proof.
She sent me a text last night about her youngest father.
Takira's mother received a text from her saying that Anthony was over the house.
And according to Takira's text, Anthony had a gun.
Cleveland detectives have reason to believe Takira Collins' ex-boyfriend, Anthony Stevens, may be responsible for the shooting and arson that killed Takira, her 2 children, and their neighbor, David Cousin Jr.
Takira's mother said she received a late-night text from her daughter that said Anthony had come by the apartment.
He had a gun, and she felt threatened.
Did you tell her to call the police?
I didn't see it until this morning.
Takira's mother said she tried to call Takira as soon as she saw the text.
She didn't answer, so I came straight over.
Do you think he killed her?
It had to be Anthony.
She said if something was to ever happen to her, Arby's father did it.
Takira's mother tells the detectives that Anthony and Takira were having issues over the custody of their daughter.
She was keeping Arby from him because he just got crazier to the point where it scared her.
While detectives are talking to the family, Armand Johnson, the father of Takira's oldest child, arrives at the scene.
Where's Takira? Takira! Where's Takira?
Detectives pulled Armand aside and broke the news that Takira and the kids were dead.
Oh no!
He said he received a late-night text, just like Takira's mother, that said Anthony had come over and he was threatening her.
No! I got a text message saying...
And also like Takira's mother, he says he hadn't seen the text until it was too late.
He was devastated with what happened.
And the detectives were afraid he would do something rash.
Where is he?
Sir,
no, where's Anthony? I need to see him.
To keep Armand from interfering with the investigation, the detectives take him into custody.
He had an outstanding warrant for some other probation violation.
Once Armand's in custody, the detectives take him down to the station for a formal statement.
He eagerly wants to help.
Although since he was under arrest, the detectives kept him cuffed.
Right now you're under arrest for a warrant that you have.
The detectives begin by asking Armand about his relationship with Takira.
He explained that he'd moved in with Takira after he'd gotten out of prison.
However, Armand also says he'd moved out a couple of weeks before the murders.
Why did you leave?
Because we just had disagreements. So how has your relationship been with her recently? You guys talk?
Yeah, we talk. She still let me come see my kids.
In fact, Armand had said that he took both of the children to a family reunion in Detroit that weekend.
When was the last time you seen them, those 2 children?
Sunday when I dropped them off.
He says he didn't have any contact with Takira or the kids after that.
Then when I woke up this morning, I received a text from yesterday.
Armand said the text was about Anthony coming to the apartment and threatening her.
She never said to you what this was all about?
No.
Or why that there was such a problem between them?
No.
Finally, while he's not a suspect, the detectives wrap up the interview by asking Armand where he was the night of the murders.
He said he was home asleep.
I fell asleep right about 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Who can verify that you were home at 9:30 sleeping?
My grandmother, my aunt, my father.
They were all there?
Yes.
He has an alibi. It's not him.
But would Takira's other ex be able to say the same?
Anthony came forward and turned himself in to be questioned.
You're not under arrest. Let me make that clear. We read these to everybody because it's a criminal investigation.
After reading Anthony his rights, the detectives ask about his relationship with Takira.
It was shaky. Crazy.
When you say she was crazy, like, what do you mean by that?
It was just a point in time in my life where I wanted to have my cake and eat it too, and she wasn't with it.
Meaning you want to see other women?
Yeah.
And according to Anthony, he hadn't even seen Takira in more than a year.
When was the last time you actually spoken with Takira?
I would have to say since my daughter was months old, literally.
He was a non-factor in her life, a non-factor in his daughter's life, sadly.
Although he said that was primarily Takira's fault.
I've never reached out to her because every time I even tried to talk to her, it's an argument. It's going to be something that I don't want it to blow up into.
So in other words, Anthony had just confirmed the custody issues that Takira's family had told the detectives about.
But does that mean they were right to suspect Anthony was her killer?
At this point, detectives confronted him with the text messages that Armand and Takira's mother received.
Anthony reads the message and denies it's true.
He maintained that he had not seen Takira and he was nowhere near her house the night before. He said that somebody was setting him up.
Who would want to jam you up in a quadruple homicide?
I have no idea. I want to find out my damn self.
Anthony also claims to have an alibi.
Mondays, I work 5 to close.
Anthony had a job making sandwiches at the time these offenses happened.
Hey, take a look at this.
When police follow up on Anthony's alibi, his story checks out.
Footage from the sub shop.
They were able to prove that Anthony was at work. There was surveillance footage. They even saw his time card.
And the texts to Takira's mother and Armand?
It's a big red herring, thrown out by the real killer.
But who? Desperate for leads, the detectives run a record search on Takira.
When you look at a victim in a case, their history can guide you to some extent as to who the perpetrator of this crime is.
When detectives look into Takira's history, they find an immediate red flag.
She had taken out an order of protection against another ex-boyfriend.
His name is Darius Murphy.
According to the protective order, Darius had been abusive.
She was beaten, she was also bitten.
Why are they questioning my sister?
Well, because violent things happen between you two. That's why.
Investigating the murders of Takira Collins, her 2 children, and her neighbor David Cousin Jr. have just learned about an order of protection she took out against an ex-boyfriend named Darius Murphy.
In the request for the order, Takira accused Darius of abusing her.
Is there a possible connection?
Okay, take a seat there for me.
Hoping to find out, the detectives bring Darius in for an interview.
That's wrong. They questioning my sister.
Well, because you were a previous boyfriend with her who had a protection order issued against you, and violent things happen between you two. That's why.
Darius admits he had a relationship with Takira, but he says it was brief.
Sounds like August or something.
2018.
Yeah, last year.
That was after Takira broke up with the father of her daughter, Anthony, but while her boyfriend, Armand, was still in jail.
She said it might be a relationship because she was already engaged with Armand.
She told you this relationship between you and I can't go on after he gets out.
Yeah, it's gonna stop.
Darius claimed that he was okay with their arrangement, but the detectives aren't so sure.
Was this an if I can't have you, no one can type of situation?
You have someone who is engaged in a crime of passion. It's jealousy, anger.
Plus, Takira claimed he'd been violent with her before.
Did you ever assault her? Okay. I understand.
Yeah,
people put this fight all the time, argue, but physically is what I'm asking you.
I probably bit her or something, but I never know the mom.
She alleges you bit her on the back.
Yeah, I do that, but I never
Okay.
beat her up.
Of course, he'd also denied he had anything to do with Takira's murder.
So let me ask you, and I gotta ask you this. It's important. Did you go over to East 63rd Street and have a confrontation with Takira and shoot, kill her?
I never did.
Instead, Darius insists the detective should be looking at Takira's other ex, Armand Johnson.
He said Armand was abusive, according to what Takira had supposedly told him.
She said he used to beat her black and blue, and now he used to put his hands on her in front of the kids.
A lot of times people assume having children makes a relationship better, but having children can also make a relationship an unhealthy environment because a lot of people don't want the responsibility of caring for children. And that happens with a lot of men, that they're just not ready to do that whole commitment piece.
However, Darius doesn't know if the abuse continued once Armand got out of jail.
He said he last talked to her a couple of months before the murders.
Okay. And Armand had already been out of jail.
He was out of jail and he was talking about them, and she told me how they were doing.
According to Darius, Takira said things were going okay between her and Armand.
She didn't say anything bad at that time.
She said she was still engaged to him?
At that time, yeah.
Could there be something to Darius's claims about an abusive relationship?
Takira had broken off the engagement.
Or was Darius simply trying to throw detectives off his trail?
Despite Darius's claims about Armand, the detectives pressed him for an alibi.
He's going to corroborate your times for Monday, July 8th through July 9th.
Curiously, Darius hesitates.
I don't want to be putting people in this.
Well, you're going to have to, because right now you're in the middle of this.
To the detectives, it sounded like Darius was hiding something.
Hoping to find out what that might be, the detectives head back to the crime scene.
They canvassed the neighborhood, looking for surveillance cameras that could place Darius in the vicinity the night of the murders.
Police start to focus in on a McDonald's that's very close to Takira's house.
In fact, when detectives review the footage, the surveillance cameras outside the restaurant recorded Takira taking her kids through the drive-thru just hours before the murders.
You may want to check this out.
It's our last known footage, our last time we see Takira and these kids alive.
But what was interesting to detectives was what the cameras recorded a few hours later.
A man runs across the parking lot from the direction of Takira's house and gets in a waiting car.
Could this be the killer making his getaway?
Not too many people go to McDonald's and get picked up.
From the footage, it's tough to make out the man's identity.
The cameras, they're not clear enough.
However, the cameras did offer detectives a good look at the man's shoes.
We could see the design on these shoes and how specific these shoes were.
But who was the man wearing those shoes? It isn't long before the detectives get a call from someone who claims to know.
I called downtown. Hey, I got some information on this case. I know exactly who it is.
Of Takira Collins, her 2 children, and her neighbor David Cousin Jr. have just received an urgent phone call from Takira's friend, Kayla Hodges.
I knew exactly who did it. It was no doubt in my mind.
According to Kayla, the killer was Armand Johnson, the father of Takira's oldest child.
Armand, I knew for a fact, but it just was like, damn, why you do the kids?
When Kayla comes in to sit down with the detectives, She says she always knew there was trouble in the relationship.
I could see that she wasn't happy. Like, yeah, you there, you being a father, but you not there.
She told you this?
No, not at first.
She did tell me some stuff, but she ain't telling us everything.
Kayla says Takira also kept her family in the dark.
It's a dirty secret. And because it is cyclical, you don't want to tell someone what happened with your abuser, because in a week, in a month, in a few days, things are going to be good. And you don't want them to alienate that person from your life.
But according to Kayla, the trouble between Armand and Takira got so bad that she couldn't hide it from everyone.
I got a call. I'm in the hospital. I got stitches. Got some stitches for what? Oh, Armand got mad and hit me in my lip.
Kayla says it was only then that Takira revealed the truth about Armand.
The relationship was just really, really toxic.
He wouldn't stop putting his hands on her. He was basically insecure about any relationship with any males that he thought was more than a friendship.
The perpetrator in the domestic violence feels a lack of control, but does not feel that they have done anything wrong.
And unfortunately, a lot of women don't think that they can get out of an abusive situation.
Which is why, according to Kayla, Takira was secretly relieved when Armand went to prison.
It's like, when he went away, she don't have to deal with that no more.
But Kayla says that Takira's resolve weakened while Armand was away.
You start feeling bad for somebody, get to text and write letters. He incarcerated. That's your child's father. Because I wouldn't say I wouldn't do the same thing. I probably would have.
Over a time period, a person begins to start minimizing the negative of the relationship to the point where they're like, it wasn't that bad with this person.
And when Armand got out of prison, the couple reconciled.
He's sorry, he apologized.
But he hadn't changed at all.
You started abusing her again.
Yeah.
He's supposed to busted up her lip pretty bad, gave her a black eye. But unfortunately, they kept me out of the loop. They didn't want me to do anything to Armand.
However, while Takira didn't tell her brother about the abuse, she did break off her engagement with Armand.
She was no longer going to put up with his behavior. She didn't want her kids around it.
When she was finally done and walking away, I could see a change. Like, she was happy. You could tell that she was excited for the new adventure.
That's extremely important and relevant in a case like this.
So you think Armand did this?
Oh, I'm sure of it.
The picture Kayla paints sounds plausible to detectives.
For him, it was like an all or nothing. He wanted her in his life. And what is scary about domestic violence relationships is that the most dangerous time is when you decide to leave. And we can make and pass laws, but at the end of the day, those things are just words on a piece of paper. And that's not going to protect anyone against 10 gunshots. If someone is intent on killing you because they can't have you, they're going to do it.
Question is, can detectives prove it?
They got a search warrant to Armand's grandmother's home where he was living with his aunt.
Hi, how can I help you?
Ma'am, we have a warrant to search your property.
Oh dear. Okay. Sure, come on in.
They don't find a smoking gun, but what they do find is almost as damning.
They discovered some very distinct shoes, the same ones that were in the surveillance footage.
You look at the shoes and definitely say they're the same shoes. And then there's shoes that happen to have gasoline on them.
Whoever set the fire had spread gasoline around the apartment.
They also had blood on them as well.
Before sending the shoes off to the lab for testing, the detectives lean on Armand's aunt.
Earlier, he told police she would vouch that he was home on the night of the murder.
But under pressure from the detectives, she caves.
So was your nephew at home all night on July 8th?
Yes. Yeah. No. Well, not all night.
She admits that on the night of the murders, she picked him up at the McDonald's down the street from Takira's apartment.
I don't know that she truly knew what was going on. You don't want to believe that he's capable of what he did to these kids. That's unthinkable.
Between the aunt's story, the surveillance video, and the shoes, detectives were able to place Armand near the scene of the crime on the night of the murder.
2 days after the murders, the detectives pull Armand out of the jail cell where he's being held on a parole violation and confront him with what they've learned.
I have your aunt talking to us, telling us that she picked you up in the area at the time of this occurrence.
No, it was not.
Armand was denying that he committed these crimes.
But it's no use.
We have a video of you.
However, there was still one thing that detectives wanted to know.
The only thing I do not understand is how you could possibly burn your children alive.
26-year-old Armand Johnson killed his ex-fiancée Takira Collins, her 2 children, and their neighbor, David Cousin Jr.
You went over there.
No, I did not.
And you killed her.
No, I did not.
Armand tries to deny it, but the detectives have proof.
Your own aunt is saying she picked you up that morning from that area right there, and she took you home.
Detectives also have surveillance video to back up his aunt's story.
Armand being captured on camera in the neighborhood at McDonald's was instrumental in the case.
But what the detectives really want is a confession.
In the interview, detectives leaned hard on the fact that Armand's own son had died.
I can understand wanting to hurt her, but not the kids. I just don't understand that part of it.
However, despite the pressure, Armand refuses to crack.
I need to talk to my lawyer.
The interview over, the detectives book Armand on 4 counts of murder.
There's an aggravated murder for Takira, for each one of the kids, and for David Cousin.
As news of the arrest spreads, the community rallies around Takira's family.
Everyone was on social media screaming no justice, no peace.
But as the case moves to trial, the family has a long wait ahead of them.
We had COVID in the middle from the time that this crime happened until the time it went to trial. So there were a lot of delays in addition to what you would normally have with a capital case.
When Armand goes on trial in August of 2022, the prosecutors argue that he just couldn't accept that his relationship with Takira was over.
That was the catalyst. He didn't want to be without her.
And it's been documented that he had an anger issue, that he was jealous of her, he didn't want her with anyone else.
So, on the night of the murders, he'd gone to Takira's apartment.
What do you want?
We need to talk.
No, we don't. We have nothing to talk about.
The kids asleep?
Yeah?
I'm coming in.
No, you're not. You're not welcome here. You need to leave.
Oh, I ain't going nowhere.
Takira tried to run, but it was no use.
He fired at her at least 10 times.
Then, once Takira was dead, he'd spread gasoline around the apartment.
When you look at where that gas was distributed throughout that house, Armand Johnson absolutely intended those kids to lose their lives. He didn't want to leave any witnesses to what he had done.
The prosecutors believe that's also why Armand killed David Cousin Jr.
He was just an innocent bystander, coming in the house at the wrong time.
Armand saw him as someone who could uncover this whole event. That's why he shot and killed him.
That was just so sad that he had to lose his life.
According to the prosecutors, there's no doubt that Armand was responsible.
They had the aunt, the video, and the shoes recovered during the search that all placed him near the scene of the crime.
And that's not all the prosecutors have.
The shoes he was wearing that night had Takira's DNA on them, likely from blood spatter.
Add it all up, it's more than enough for the jury.
Armand is found to be guilty.
He received 4 life sentences without parole. I can sleep well at night knowing that he's never getting out of prison.
Takira's loved ones are less satisfied with the outcome.
It wasn't enough for me. I'm sorry. It wasn't enough. That's 4 lives, 2 adults and 2 kids. Then you still living, you still eating, you still breathing. No, that wasn't good enough for me. Still can't sleep at night.
While they still struggle to accept their loss, Takira's friends and family hope her story can help save others from a similar fate.
I don't wish this on nobody, not even my worst enemy. If you going through that situation, get out.
Pay attention to the red flags. Don't ignore the warning signs. Don't wait before it's too late.
But most of all, Takira's loved ones cherish her memory.
She was my everything. Me and her told each other everything. I don't have that no more.
Takira Lachey Collins was my best friend, and she was a beautiful person. Her kids was adorable angels, and they will be.
This program documents actual homicide investigations. Criminal charges are often dropped or reduced, and all suspects shown are presumed innocent unless proven guilty.
Rising basketball star who believed in giving back.
She wanted to follow in the footsteps of her mother, who was a nurse. She was such a giving person.
And her generosity touched the lives of everyone she knew.
That was my protector, my confidant.
She never met a stranger.
So how did she become the target of a vicious attack?
The shooter had stood over her and shot her point-blank execution style.
I couldn't believe that happened.
Was it a jealous ex unwilling to let go?
We are over.
He had been lurking outside.
Or a new flame that burned too hot?
She just wasn't ready for another relationship.
Something just snapped in him.
And when the investigation hits a stone wall, will the victim's own words be enough to catch her killer?
You could hear the actual shot that ended her life.
September 15th, 1999. It's a quiet Wednesday evening in Nanuet, New York, a suburban community just 25 miles north of New York City.
Nanuet is what they call in New York a hamlet. It doesn't have a city government of its own.
It falls within the town of Clarkstown.
It's low crime, a good school system, affordable houses, manicured lawns.
Around 9:40 p.m., 23-year-old Angie Despinas has just arrived at the home she shares with her mother and her older sister, Michelle.
Angie had just finished her college courses for the evening.
But something about the house immediately strikes Angie as odd.
We have a sensor light that's on the outside of my mom's home, and the light did not turn on. That's kind of strange because Michelle's car is here, and whoever gets home first will put the switch up.
Inside the house, Angie doesn't see any sign of her sister.
Michelle, are you home? There was no response, just this eerie silence.
But when Angie turns into the living room, she's met with a nightmare.
I saw that she was on the floor and she was hurt, and I tried to call out to her, but she was unresponsive.
Oh my God!
For Michelle Despinas, helping others was her greatest passion.
She wanted to become a nurse like my mom.
She had a love for people, so no surprise that she would be wanting to go into nursing.
Michelle was just always an outgoing individual. If you looked up people person, you'd see Michelle's picture in the dictionary.
She's very, very friendly, but she was tough. You know, she was into sports a lot. She loved the game, and she was very dedicated.
In her 20s, Michelle's desire to follow in her mother's footsteps came to fruition.
She was attending Rockland Community College in the nursing program there. That was just something that she always wanted to do.
While in college, Michelle kept herself busy.
Michelle volunteered in the maternity ward at the hospital.
She was an assistant basketball coach at Rockland Community College.
The girls that she coached, she had personal relationships with them where they would call her and she would get up and go. It wasn't just an on-the-court thing for her. If you needed that extra help, she was there.
And in the summer of 1994, 22-year-old Michelle met someone on the court that shared her same love of the game. 22-year-old Ken Rogers.
They used to play pickup games on the same basketball court, so they got to know each other that way.
I'm really making it rain out here.
You're not too bad yourself.
I just remember the phone calls. I met this guy, he's really nice looking, he's tall, and they had that commonality in sports, and they kind of just kicked it off.
Before long, basketball pickup games blossomed into something more.
The relationship was a good relationship, you know, going out on the dates and meeting each other's friends and family.
She was smitten with him, and they started talking about advancing their relationship.
But as time went on, Michelle started to wonder if she and Ken were really right for each other.
She wanted to push with her education and her career, and I'm not sure that Ken was trying to do the same thing.
Ken had a job, but he wasn't on the same trajectory as Michelle.
I don't think he was willing to put in the work to match her.
They did eventually start to grow apart and realized it just wasn't going to work out.
After 5 years, Michelle finally ended things with Ken in June of 1999.
She said, I love him, but I can't be with him anymore.
It's never easy breaking up, but you hope that the two of you can eventually move on.
And for Michelle, moving on didn't take long.
Michelle was at a wedding in Connecticut and met a man named Wade Burton.
What brings you to this wedding?
He's a gentleman. He's an easygoing guy. He was fun, you know, and he was genuinely interested in trying to get to know her, and she was excited about that too.
You gonna be able to keep coaching after you graduate?
I'd like to, if I'm not too busy.
Yeah, I understand.
They had a great time getting to know each other and decided to keep in touch.
Wade lived 2 hours away in Connecticut, but the two didn't let that stop them.
They started dating, and Wade made several trips from Connecticut to see her.
She was excited about this new relationship.
She had a fantastic future ahead of her. She was just an all-around good girl.
But less than 3 months after meeting Wade, Michelle's promising future hangs in the balance when her sister finds her unresponsive on the floor of their home.
Once Angie was able to get her composure, she dialed 911 to get help.
Can you all send someone quick, please?
Clarkstown police arrive within minutes.
Ma'am.
I thought that maybe she had fell and maybe hit her head.
But police quickly determined the reality is more gruesome.
Michelle was shot once in the head.
It appeared to be a fatal injury, and police were about to call the coroner.
Then officers make a shocking discovery.
We've got a pulse.
She was still breathing.
She was still alive.
Student Michelle Despinas had a bright future ahead of her.
She's going to school to become a nurse, like her mom. She's an assistant basketball coach. She volunteers at a hospital.
And after breaking up with her boyfriend of 5 years, Ken Rogers, Michelle found a new love interest, 29-year-old Wade Burton.
Michelle lived in New York and Wade lived in Connecticut, but still they were trying to make it work.
But now, Michelle is in critical condition with a gunshot wound to the head.
The entry was through the right side of her head, exit through the left.
One of the police officers said to me something about her being shot, and I'm like, well, what are you talking about? No one would look to hurt her in that way.
It's unclear whether she will live or die.
So it was then now following the ambulance all the way to the hospital, and just thoughts going through your mind like, what's gonna happen? She's gotta be okay. Things like this only happen in the movies.
While Michelle's life hangs in the balance, Clarkstown detectives arrive and begin looking for answers.
The reaction was like, wow, why her?
What could this have been? Could this have been a robbery, a burglary?
It doesn't take investigators long to find a vital piece of evidence.
The investigators found one single 9mm shell casing. They also noticed a bullet hole on the floor under where Michelle's head would have been.
Police were actually able to dig the bullet right out of the flooring.
It's consistent to a semi-automatic handgun.
The evidence paints a chilling picture of what happened to Michelle.
Due to the location, it was determined that Michelle was on the floor at the time she was shot.
So what do you think? The shooter had stood over her and shot her point blank.
Detectives also find signs of a struggle inside the home.
There were some items knocked over or knocked off the tables.
There's blood splatter consistent with a physical fight.
What investigators don't find are any signs of a robbery.
Nothing was taken from the scene. There was nothing stolen.
There was also no sign of forced entry.
Which leads detectives to conclude that Michelle's shooter must have intentionally targeted her.
This was not a random person attacking her. This had to be someone she knew. Most likely someone she let in.
But who could that person be?
Hoping a neighbor might know something, police do a canvass from door to door.
And they're in luck.
One neighbor remembered seeing Michelle the day before the shooting.
Michelle was standing outside her house with a man leaning against a white SUV.
The neighbor can't identify the man, but the investigators hope Michelle's loved ones can fill in the blanks.
When something like this happens, the police have to start with the family, ask them what they know.
Michelle's distraught family and friends have gathered at the hospital, awaiting news of her condition.
It was unreal. I was like, this can't be happening. Like, this is my sister.
I could not get my head wrapped around that. This was real.
Despite their pain, Michelle's loved ones agree to speak to the police.
They wanted to cooperate fully with the investigation.
But they don't have any explanation for what happened.
We don't deal with guns. We don't have this lifestyle. How could she have gotten shot?
They didn't know anyone who would want to hurt Michelle.
However, one friend of Michelle's has some information she thinks could aid in the investigation.
Michelle called me earlier and said her last class got canceled.
Michelle had gotten out of class early and was headed home.
They chatted for a few minutes, and that was it.
But Michelle's friend says there was a second call later that night.
She says that she did receive another call from Michelle just before 9:15 p.m.
She sounded really different.
What do you mean?
She sounded scared.
She's practically whispering, "He's outside, he's outside." And before she can say who, the line goes dead.
She tried to call Michelle back several times, but Michelle never answered.
So you don't know who she was talking about?
Well, I can guess.
She says Michelle was having trouble with her ex.
She had a recent breakup with her boyfriend of 5 years.
She said his name was Ken Rogers.
He hadn't taken it very well.
At a hospital in Clarkstown, New York, 27-year-old nursing student Michelle Despinasse is clinging to life with a gunshot wound to the head. In speaking with her family and friends, investigators have identified a possible suspect, her ex-boyfriend, 27-year-old Ken Rogers.
They had been dating for about 5 years. They had broken up a few months earlier. He was not taking it well.
But before investigators can speak to Ken, doctors deliver some tragic news.
The bullet wound to Michelle's head has left her completely brain dead.
Doctors informed her family members that the damage was so severe she would never recover.
Michelle's family now faces an impossible decision. But her mother thinks she knows what Michelle would want.
There was a conversation that Michelle had with my mom maybe a few days before, and she was like, "Mommy, if something ever happened to me, I wouldn't want to be on life support." I don't know if she felt like something was going to happen to her, but that conversation is what made my mom decide.
Her mother had to make the decision to send her on her way.
Michelle wouldn't want people to see her like a vegetable because she's such an athletic person, such a vibrant person, such an active person.
Once they make that decision to take her off of life support, the case is now considered a homicide.
As the sun comes up over Clarkstown, investigators are now searching for a murderer. And Michelle's ex is the first person on their radar.
Clearly, detectives need to speak to Ken Rogers.
They were able to contact him, and he agreed to come into the station for an interview.
He had heard that the police were looking for him.
He's also heard that Michelle is dead.
People have been calling me about it. It's just hard to believe, you know?
Ken seems like he doesn't have anything to hide. He's willing to be interviewed.
The detectives start by asking Ken about his relationship with Michelle.
He admitted that they had broken up.
Ken openly admits that he had not taken it well.
We had some arguments. I just wish I could take it all back, you know?
He may have said things that he regretted, but Ken says that he would never have done anything to hurt Michelle.
In fact, Ken says he has an alibi for Wednesday night.
He said that his friend had worked at a local video store and he had gone to visit him around 7 p.m.
According to Ken, he was at this video store until 10 o'clock at night.
There's someone out there.
Michelle was on the phone with her friend around 9:15, and Angie found her body by 9:40.
If Ken's alibi checks out, he couldn't have been the person who killed Michelle.
All right, well, we appreciate your time, Ken, and you're free to go.
Next, detectives reach out to Ken's friend.
They confirmed that Ken had been with him from 7 p.m. to after 10 that night.
He has an airtight alibi.
With Ken crossed off their suspect list, investigators are back at square one. However, they know from speaking with Michelle's loved ones that she started dating someone new after her breakup with Ken, 29-year-old Wade Burton.
Even though Wade lived in Connecticut, it would only taken him a few hours to drive to Nanuet.
Investigators run Wade's name through their computer databases and don't find anything suspicious.
He had no prior criminal history. He had no arrests, no convictions.
But when detectives check Wade's DMV records, they find something that catches their attention.
DMV records reveal that Wade actually drives a white SUV.
You got it, thank you.
There were witnesses who saw a man in a white SUV talking to Michelle.
Wade was almost certainly the man a neighbor saw with Michelle the day before she was killed.
When detectives reach out to Wade, he agrees to drive over from Connecticut to speak with them.
Wade appears to be upset over Michelle's passing.
It's just crazy something like this happened.
But when detectives start asking questions, Wade began to get defensive.
He had admitted to visiting Michelle the day before she was attacked.
However, Wade bristles at what detectives are suggesting.
You think I was involved in this?
He said, I would never, ever hurt Michelle. And I don't like the insinuation that I could possibly do this.
Wade also claims to have an alibi for the night of the crime.
He said that he was home at his house in Connecticut with his mom and his brother.
Wade's family, his mother, his brother, all confirm his alibi that he was at home in Connecticut.
With both of the prime suspects ruled out, the investigation seemed to be hitting a brick wall.
But then Wade says something that will send the investigation hurtling in an entirely new direction.
Have you looked into Jesse Morton?
Who's Jesse Morton?
Police investigating the murder of Michelle Despenas have eliminated her ex, Ken Rogers, and her most recent boyfriend, Wade Burton, as suspects in the crime.
The detectives were able to confirm their alibis at the time of the murder.
But now, Wade has given investigators a tantalizing new lead.
He asked them if they looked into a guy named Jesse Morton.
Who's Jesse Morton?
Some guy Michelle dated briefly before me.
Wade tells detectives Michelle had just broken up with Ken Rogers and gone on a much-needed vacation when she met Jesse.
Jesse had met Michelle on a cruise to the Bahamas, a little shipboard romance, perhaps.
According to Wade, when Jesse and Michelle realized they lived near each other, they went on a few dates at home.
But their romance quickly fizzled out, and that's when Michelle met Wade.
Thank you, Wade. And we'll make sure we look into it.
Could Jesse have been upset that more didn't come out of his relationship with Michelle? Investigators contact him right away.
When detectives reach out to Jesse, he agrees to come in for an interview.
We appreciate you coming in, Jesse, to talk to us. And can you tell us how you knew Michelle?
Jesse confirms that he and Michelle met on a cruise in the Bahamas a few months earlier.
We had a good time, and we figured we'd keep things going when we got back.
But just like Wade said, the romance didn't last long.
Michelle was hesitant to dive into another serious relationship so soon after breaking up with Ken, so they kept it pretty casual.
She's just broken up from a 5-year relationship. She tells Jesse, I'm just not ready.
Jesse says he respected Michelle's decision. But did he really accept it? Especially after Michelle began dating Wade.
Have you really moved on?
Jesse admits he had hoped that Michelle would change her mind.
You can't blame the man for hoping for a romance with Michelle.
But he assures detectives he'd never do anything to harm her.
Jesse, where were you Wednesday night?
I was visiting some friends in D.C.
So police check, and sure enough, he does have an alibi for being in D.C. at the time.
But as detectives are wrapping up their interview with Jesse, he says something that will shift the focus of the investigation yet again.
Listen, if I were you, I'd be checking out her ex-boyfriend.
You mean Ken?
Yeah.
He said that Ken had been stalking her since their breakup.
Jesse claims he witnessed the stalking firsthand, a few days after he and Michelle returned from the cruise.
Jesse was dropping Michelle off at home after a night out.
As Michelle walked towards her front door, Ken emerged from the shadows.
Ken confronted her and was clearly upset that she was with another man.
Nah, who is that, huh?
It's okay, Jesse. I got this.
You sure?
Ken, I need you to stop this. We are over.
Ken eventually left. But according to Jesse, it wasn't an isolated incident.
Michelle had said that he'd been stalking her ever since they broke up, just being real creepy and everything.
Sometimes she would leave for work in the morning and he'd be outside standing there.
Ken was trying to pressure her to get back together with him.
But regardless of what Jesse says, Ken still has an airtight alibi.
Police had already ruled out Ken since his alibi about being at the video store checked out.
However, when one of Michelle's colleagues from the hospital she volunteered at comes forward, it bolsters Jesse's account.
They came forward to indicate that they had seen and heard Michelle and Ken arguing in the months leading up to the murder.
On one occasion, an argument had turned physical.
Michelle!
A witness observed Michelle and Ken having words, and Ken shoved Michelle.
According to Michelle's colleague, the arguments all stemmed from one thing: Ken's relentless efforts to win Michelle back.
The witness was so disturbed by what he had seen that the witness walked up to Michelle and asked if she was okay.
You okay?
Michelle's colleague tells detectives that minutes later, Ken returned, but his demeanor was completely different.
Ken, please just go.
I'm sorry.
He showed back up with a bouquet of flowers, just begging Michelle to take him back.
I'm sorry.
No.
She told Ken that she was not interested in pursuing a relationship, but the harassment continued. That was part of a pattern in the months before the murder.
Ken was intimidating her, stalking her, and harassing her. He was finding out information about who she was dating, where she was going, and was circling her block where she lived.
Ken's history of stalking Michelle has investigators convinced they're on the right track. But it isn't enough to overcome Ken's alibi.
Without more evidence, the investigators seem to be hitting a dead end.
That's when detectives receive a package from the crime lab.
CSI had confiscated a lot of items from the crime scene, including an answering machine that was at the home.
You're gonna want to hear this.
And when the messages on the answering machine were transcribed, CSI techs noticed an alarming recording.
The recording isn't a voicemail. It's actually a voice recording that can be activated by pressing a button on the answer machine. When they pop them in the tape player, the detectives are left speechless.
Michelle had apparently pushed the memo button and everything was recorded.
Michelle spoke from the grave.
Police in Clarkstown, New York have discovered that just before she was murdered, 27-year-old Michelle Despenas pushed the record button on her answering machine and captured the entire confrontation with her killer.
The police listened to the tape that was on the answering machine.
Stop what? Huh?
Her voice breaking in terror. You could hear her begin to struggle.
But who was the attacker? To detectives' surprise, they're clued in by Michelle herself.
In her own voice, Michelle is yelling for Ken to stop. Ken, stop.
Can't stop it!
She wanted to capture whatever happened between them on tape.
Then the investigators hear the thud of something falling.
We believe Michelle went to the ground, either by being struck or by fainting.
That's followed by a loud bang that sounds like a gun went off.
We hear the fatal shot, and the tape goes dead.
For the detectives, the recording is a game changer.
There is no more compelling evidence than the words of the victim herself naming her own murderer.
She sent the homicide detectives the evidence they needed from beyond the grave.
Now, they hope the tape can be used to leverage a confession.
On the day of Michelle's funeral, Ken attended the funeral, and police asked Ken to go back to the station with them to talk about the case.
Detectives have a tape player ready in the interview room.
Why am I here?
Because there's something we want you to listen to.
The police played the tape for Ken. This was the first time Ken had heard it, and he was quite shocked.
Can't stop it!
Do you recognize that voice?
Ken thinks he's free and clear and suddenly hears the voice of Michelle herself yelling out his name.
At that point, his demeanor changes.
He's horrified, he's upset, but yet he stands by his innocence.
I don't know why she said my name. Because you were there. It wasn't me.
Ken has no explanation for detectives.
He just leaves.
Ken stands up and walks out. The detectives decide to let him go.
The tape alone isn't enough for them to make an arrest.
You have Michelle's words, but what you don't have is a murder weapon, and you still have an alibi.
A friend who owned this video store admitted that Ken was hanging out at the store at the time the murder was committed.
Despite his friend's claim, could Ken still be involved in the murder somehow? Police decide to subpoena his phone records to search for any suspicious calls.
What we noticed was that there were several calls to an individual who lived in Ken's neighborhood in the week prior to the murder.
The police then get in contact with the person that Ken was phoning.
The man says he doesn't know anything about a murder, but he does admit something alarming.
Ken had been speaking to him about purchasing a gun.
He admits that on September 15th, he sold Ken a pistol.
The gun was a 9mm, which was the same type of weapon that was used to kill Michelle.
Just hours before the shooting, Ken bought a handgun consistent with the shell casing that was found at the crime scene.
It's another piece of compelling evidence, but there's still a major roadblock in the investigation.
There's one sticking point left in this case, that video store alibi.
Making an arrest depends on dismantling the alibi. So detectives bring in Ken's friend, Alex Green, to see if he'll stick by his original story.
I don't understand why y'all want to talk to me again.
We've received some new information.
Detectives reveal they have a tape that strongly suggests Ken wasn't at the video store like he claims. And Alex quickly changes his tune.
Ken's friend now admits that none of that was true.
The owner of the video store had lied, and the reason why he lied was he claimed that he had been visited by a member of Ken's family.
He said that the cops would want to talk to me, and I better say Ken was with me that night.
And what if you didn't?
He said, or else.
He was afraid for his life.
So what are you saying now? That you weren't with Ken?
Well, he did come into the store.
He actually did show up to the video store at 7 p.m., like he originally said.
But he left shortly after 8 and didn't come back till 10.
The alibi that Ken provided to police was false.
I want women to know that Michelle was your average person, your best friend, the girl who you worked with. This situation can happen to any woman. When you're feeling unsafe in a relationship, you have to talk about it. You have to find that person that you can share with what's going on. Don't keep it to yourself. You think that you can control it, but before you know it, it becomes bigger than you are, and it can literally take your life.
Police in Clarkstown, New York are building a case against Ken Rogers for the murder of his ex-girlfriend, Michelle Despinas. But so far, Ken has had a rock-solid alibi standing in their way.
From about 7 to 10 p.m., he was talking with a friend at a video store.
But in their follow-up interview with that friend, Alex Green, Ken's alibi is starting to crumble.
According to Ken's friend, Ken left the store about 8:20 p.m. and he didn't return to the store till after 10 p.m.
That opens the window wide for Ken to be able to get to Michelle's house, commit the crime, and get back.
After their interview with Alex Green, detectives are ready to make an arrest, and Ken Rogers can feel it coming.
After hearing the tape, he called and left a message for Michelle's mother and sister, and he said, "I'm sorry, guys, goodbye." Ken then tried to take his life that night by swallowing Drano.
He ended up having to go to the emergency room to get treated.
Unlike Michelle, Ken makes a full recovery.
Ken made an agreement with investigators that he would turn himself into police right after being released from the hospital.
But that's not what happens. Back home the next day, Ken attempts to make a run for it when officers come to arrest him.
Rather than cooperate, he decided to flee.
Ken was trying to jump out a back window to get away. Fortunately, one of the officers was around back.
Ken was arrested and went to the Rockland County Jail.
With Ken now secured, detectives let Michelle's loved ones know that they have her killer in custody.
I thought that I would be so excited and so happy. It was just more grief. I'm glad they got him, but it kind of solidifies this really happened.
It was a sense of relief to say, wow, he's off the street, so what do we do to get him behind bars and stay there?
The police get some help from one of Ken's fellow inmates at the jail.
While he was in the jail, a person overheard some conversation where Ken admitted that he shot Michelle. Some of the details were details that only the killer would know.
The jailhouse confession is the final piece of the case the police have been building. And in May of 2000, Ken Rogers goes on trial at the Rockland County Courthouse.
The trial focused primarily on the tape. But in addition to the tape, there was an abundance of evidence pointing towards Ken's guilt. First, he had a motive to kill Michelle Despenas.
According to the prosecution, Michelle was murdered because she'd broken up with Ken.
Since the breakup, Ken had been stalking her and trying to force her to take him back.
But Michelle refused to be intimidated.
He saw his harassing behavior was not working.
Ken found out that she was dating another man, that she would never take him back.
And he refused to accept it.
We are over.
We'll see about that.
Ken was extremely jealous when he found out that Michelle had moved on.
If he wasn't going to have her, nobody was going to have her.
Prosecutors claim the murder was premeditated.
Ken planned out exactly what he was going to do.
Then he put his plan into action.
On the day of the murder, he bought a 9mm handgun.
He goes to the video store to start establishing an alibi.
Next, Ken drove to the home Michelle shared with her mother and sister.
When Michelle spotted him, that's when she called her friend.
But Michelle didn't initially realize it was Ken outside.
There's someone out there. I can see him.
Until he began banging on her front door.
Ken, you can't keep doing this.
Why can't I keep unaware of the violence that he had planned against her? Michelle let Ken inside the house.
She was still willing to let him come into her house and talk to him, hoping that he would leave her alone.
But Ken had something else in mind.
He confronted her about the fact that she was seeing other men.
An argument ensued. I don't like the fact that you're dating someone else. I still want to get together with you. Things got very heated.
How many times do I have to tell you?
Tell me what?
It's over, Ken!
It's not over.
That's when Michelle pressed record on the answering machine. And what happened next was caught on tape.
The argument quickly escalated and it turned into a physical struggle.
He knocks her to the floor, stands over her.
Michelle was on the floor, begging for her life, while this man stood over her and shot her in the head.
The coroner determined the shot was fired within 1 to 3 inches of Michelle's head.
Ken fled immediately after the shooting.
He headed right back to the video shop to establish his alibi.
Ken also covered his tracks by disposing of the murder weapon.
Sometime after leaving the house, he got rid of the gun.
The weapon is never recovered, but even without a literal smoking gun, the jury is convinced.
After 2 hours of deliberation, the jury finds Ken Rogers guilty. If it wasn't for Michelle's quick thinking, he might have got away with this.
It amazes me that Michelle had the presence of mind to press the memo button on her answering machine to record what was happening.
But regardless of the verdict, Ken doesn't back down.
At the sentencing, after he was convicted, Ken was given an opportunity to speak to the court. He came up with a conspiracy-laden theory about him not being involved.
He still maintains his innocence, even at this point, but I think he's the only one he is fooling in this case.
Michelle's family is outraged.
Things got very emotional, and Angie Despinas got very upset, and there were some words exchanged between them.
For him to say, you know what, I'm going to play the role of God and take your life because you're not with me, I think it's demonic. It's evil.
Like the family, the judge is in no mood for Ken's lies.
Judge Nelson admonished him for putting the family through that again.
The judge was not a fan of his.
The judge sentences Ken to 25 years to life.
He would be eligible for parole in August of 2024.
Michelle's family and friends have mixed feelings about the outcome of the trial.
You have that sense of relief, but then there's a possibility that after serving a certain amount of time that he can come out. I've never come to terms with that.
He shouldn't be allowed out. I felt like he should have gotten life. She was loved by many. We all lost her.
Michelle was a vibrant member of the community. She worked in a maternity ward, bringing life into this world, and her life was taken from her.
How many people would she have helped? So much she could have accomplished. Ken took that away, not only from her, but he took Michelle away from the rest of the world.
Michelle